WrestleMania is upon us, and being the wrestling nerd that I am, I thought, let's rank the best ones, and my goodness, there are so many opinions on this. It's argued to be the trendsetter of epic sports entertainment events. First created in 1985 by now unbuttoned shirt hip grandpop Vincent Kennedy McMahon, the yearly show is celebrating 38 years of this spectacular event. Millions of hardcore wrestling fans and casual observers from around the world flock in person or to their television sets to see the next WrestleMania moment. I studied hard putting this together and tried to be as biased from the hundreds of lists I went through, but just to be clear, this is not a list of greatest WrestleMania matches or moments. This is a list of the full WrestleMania show, looking at the main card all the way through to which one was the best. Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25 may have been the greatest WrestleMania match in history, but it reigns at the top of a card which saw Chris Jericho beating up old men, the lackluster main event of the Cerebral One and the Out of Nowhere Man, and Santino Marella winning a women's battle royal to celebrate 25 years of women's wrestling history. So, yeah. Point is, this isn't to be branded as moments, but which overall show made us sit at the edge of our seats through the entire event. So let's take a look back at the greatest spectacle WWE has ever produced. I'm Mike from Collection of Madness, and these are the top 10 greatest WrestleManias of all time. If you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification and like button, then you'll get free WrestleMania tickets. I'm sorry. I lied. I am ashamed. Number 10, WrestleMania 35. Many tend to forget how much star power was on this particular card, mainly because it was 7 hours long. Please, WWE, let's get those 4-hour spectacles back. Please. Anyway, there were so many great things out of this Mania. Kofi Kingston finally climbing the long, tall mountain against Daniel Bryan, becoming the WWE Champion and celebrating with his kid and his mates. Rollins' very quick surprise win over Lesnar was just mad. The birth of Becky Two Belts and probably the saddest retirement ever, and not like the good sad, but we'll get to that. In their second match at WrestleMania, Triple H and Batista somehow put on an excellent street fight, including pulling piercings out of a man. Ouch. But let's not overlook the little moments that made this great. Tony Nese versus Buddy Murphy for the Cruiserweight title, Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins having their WrestleMania moment, and Samoa Joe having his first and only active WrestleMania match. Ha! Look at that poncho. Regardless, everyone clamored for the first ever women's main event at WrestleMania, and it didn't disappoint. Also, the return of the Doctor. Word life. Number 9, WrestleMania 18. Let's talk about this. WrestleMania 18 will always be remembered for that match, but despite the crowd being totally drained for Hogan Rock, the main event was better than you remembered. Undertaker Ric Flair saw the Dead Man pick up his 10th WrestleMania win in a great match with a legend. The Hardcore Championship shenanigans was fun. Angle and Kane is often a forgotten gem, and there was such good technical wrestling on this card. However, it's the Hogan Rock match, ain't? Well, if you're going to do it great once, not twice. The match itself wasn't really that great, if we're being honest, but nostalgia was the only thing needed here to make this work, and both men capitalized on that. Feeding off the crowd, hitting signature moves, this is what the definition of professional wrestling is. It's why we keep coming back, and this event gave you that feeling, not just from this match, but the event as a whole. Number 8, WrestleMania 24. Usually an underrated WrestleMania, the 24th installment was pretty clutch all the way through. Yes, even that Belfast brawl between JBL and Finlay. However, we also witnessed Shelton Benjamin take the worst bump of the night. Again, poor guy. CM Punk winning the Money in the Bank made people very happy, and the triple threat for the WWE Championship was well done all around. Watching the crowd turn on Floyd Mayweather was hilarious and a lot of fun. Now, the Undertaker-Edge main event won't go down as the greatest main event at a WrestleMania, but it sure was a spectacle to watch, witnessing the Phenom pick up his 6th championship win. However, I'm sorry, I love you. Nature Boy Ric Flair, the 16-time world champion, the granddaddy robe-wearing son of a gun, was retired by Mr. WrestleMania that night in Orlando. The match went back and forth, making you believe for a split second Flair could pull off the win. An emotional roller coaster to say the least, and that event would shake the wrestling world because he retired. He had no other matches, okay? Number 7, WrestleMania 3. So the actual attendance is still debated, but there was still a buttload of people there, and for reasons. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Macho Man Randy Savage for the IC title, which could have very well been the main event if it weren't for the actual main event itself. Jake Roberts versus Honky Tonk Man with Chris Angel's dad. I mean, bloody Harley Race was on this card. What the heck? Even though WWE jammed a dozen matches into 3 hours, they got through to the moment that everyone was waiting for. That match, those men, that slam. Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan is indeed larger than life. I mean, the draw that Hogan had, the influence, it was insane, and Andre, literally a giant, was willing to give the fans what they wanted in what can be argued as his last great moment. What an amazing WrestleMania. Number 6, WrestleMania 21. Oh, Hollywood and the things you do to people. After a lackluster 20th anniversary, the 21st sure made up ground. Kurt Angle vs. Shawn Michaels was an instant classic and can be argued to be up there with Taker Michaels' Mania 25 match. No wonder they call him Mr. WrestleMania. Mean Mark in the Dark floated his way to picking up his 13th win, staying undefeated at the show of shows, but the main two highlights were the future of the company being christened before our very eyes. The Ruthless Aggression era saw Peacemaker and Drax start their journeys as the top guys. Though both matches weren't as notable as past Mania main events, the purpose was there. We knew it was coming and we couldn't wait to see it. Eddie and Ray was an amazing match as always. We miss you, Eddie. The Money in the Bank would see Edge win and start his journey as the rated R superstar, perhaps the character that solidified him as a Hall of Famer. Only an 8-match card, but boy, did every match count, making this Mania one of the greats. Number 5, WrestleMania 31. Besides the lackluster builds and no enthusiasm leading up to it, 31 was sneakingly good. This man flew and then pulled off the heist of the century. Quote the Cole, nevermore. However, we often forget just how amazing this WrestleMania was. Daniel Bryan wasn't our main event, but a year later, and he still walked away with championship gold. Sting Triple H wasn't what we wanted, but it was good. Spooky men did spooky things. Cena versus Rusev for the US title was amazing. Oh, Roman versus Brock, the first installment. Yes, they have been doing this for 7 years. Neat. It's not that the match itself wasn't good, just nobody was really into it at all. If not for Seth cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase, doing the twirly loop-de-loop thing, and leaving Roman and Brock in the ring, we may not have walked away with that amazing feeling at the end of this Mania. Number 4, WrestleMania 10. The Battle of the Brothers, one brother loses, and that losing brother wins title. Wait, what? What are you saying? The chaos starts with Bret and Lex Luger both winning the Royal Rumble, securing world title shots at WrestleMania. So, even though Owen won, Bret still won the title. Yeah. The show has a bunch of new generation scrambles, but the opener played a huge role throughout the night because the brothers were the hottest wrestling rivalry of that generation. A technical classic with great wrestling psychology and plenty of context to the story. The match could have been match of the night if not for the incredible contest by the Heartbreak Kid and Razor Ramon. Technically the second ladder match in company history, but who knows. It didn't disappoint, and this match would go down as one of the greatest as both men put their bodies on the line for our entertainment that night at WrestleMania 10. Number 3, WrestleMania 30. WrestleMania 30 stands as one of the most significant nights in WWE history. Fans would have their voices heard over the course of a year, something WWE does not do. Brock Lesnar would shock the world doing something few believed would ever have happened. After CM Punk decided to walk out in WWE earlier in the year, he leaked this photo of what the match card was going to be. And just imagine if we got this instead of this. Madness. Even though the wrong man won, Cena and Wyatt was impeccable, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal was treated as a big deal and had the right winner. Up and down through the card, it had its bad spots like any other, but the good outweighed the bad. Even if we saw the streak end, the vegan knight would ride his electric car into the abyss with kale chips and all to slay the animal and the viper. For once, we got what we wanted as WWE fans, and they sent us home feeling complete joy and happiness, and this man deserved every bit of it. Number 2, WrestleMania 17. Look, clearly this should be number 1, but also it's my list, so eat. This card from top to bottom was non-stop fun and truly one of the last great Attitude Era pay-per-views the company would ever produce. Austin Rock 2, Linda standing and delivering a swift kick to the mightiest grapefruits alive. Undertaker Triple H was a wild ride of a match, probably the best entrance of the American Badass persona at the time, not to mention in front of his hometown of Houston. And Raven almost knocking out the whole entire show in a golf cart. For anyone? However, it wasn't just the big moments here that made this event historical. Regal Jericho was a banger, TLC 2 became the hype and set all of these men involved on a catapult of stardom, and what is considered her last great moment at WrestleMania ever saw the ninth wonder of the world, Chyna, winning the women's world title. Stone Cold's heel turn was not that liked by the fans and also wasn't expected. That handshake between him and Vince was the equivalent of Benedict Arnold. Just well done story. The event surely will go down in history as one of the best to ever take place. However, in my professional opinion, there's one that tops this. Number 1, WrestleMania 19. This was my first WrestleMania I saw, so there may be some slight bias in this. Whoops. But this Mania just felt like a WrestleMania. I can't explain it. It was just really, really good. There were one or two slight bumps in the road. Triple H versus Booker T was tone deaf and should have been Book's shining moment. I actually enjoyed the Undertaker handicap match with the dead man being serenaded to the ring by the man who likes hot dog flavored water, but nonetheless, everything else on this card was flawless. Michaels Jericho was over the top good selling, incredible story, and connecting so perfectly in the ring. It was the dream match we didn't know we wanted at the time. The triple threat for the tag titles was weirdly good, seeing Team Angle pick up the win. Trish Stratus winning the Women's World Championship in a triple threat match really solidified her as being one of the pioneers for the women's revolution before we even saw it come to its fullest potential. Two old men who hated each other put on a classic WrestleMania match that no one was expecting. Roddy Piper couldn't even believe it, so he had to see it for himself. Oh, but of course, Lesnar, Angle, my goodness, these two men are why I loved the 2003 era of wrestling. It just felt like legitimate sport to me at the time. Two of the greatest athletes in the world, an Olympic gold medalist, an NCAA heavyweight champion on the grandest stage of them all. Yeah, Lesnar almost killed himself attempting that shooting star press, but hey, such is life. With both men battered up, they managed to pull off an amazing, memorable match, capping off what I consider to be the greatest WrestleMania of all time.